In this installment, we're going to be going over some of the must-avoids, the fades of this year before we get into training camp. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for our must-avoids in best ball and fantasy football drafts right now before we get into the training camp. Guys, before I deep dive into this very, very intriguing video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetChetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon. We just got through the MLB All-Star game. That was very successful with the NL winning. We're going to be gearing up for the second half of baseball. Picks will be coming out today. Guys, hop in right now. Not only MLB, we're getting you guys ready for best ball and fantasy football. You'll see rankings in the Patreon as well, all right? So sign up now. If you're not a viewer, if you are currently a viewer and not currently a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Guys, like and make sure you comment. I want to know how you feel about each and every one of these guys. Maybe one of the guys I'm talking about is your loves for this year. Let me know down below. The first must avoid this year will be, yes, Mike Williams. Of course, I adore the Los Angeles Chargers this year with Kellen Moore coming over to this offense, bringing more of a high pace, and they're going to be throwing the ball at a higher clip. But you do add in the fact that they're going to have more receiving competition on this team with the acquisition of Quentin Johnston in the first round, okay? We're going to most likely see a more healthier full season of Keenan Allen as well. They still have Josh Palmer, Gerald Everett, Donald Parham. There's a lot of guys in this offense, and Mike Williams is relegated to that deep ball route guy, all right? And last year in 2022, what everyone expected him to go to take it to a whole entire level, he finished as wide receiver 32. If you're looking at Mike Williams' stats year after year, there was upside in 2018 where he had 10 touchdowns. Then there was upside in 2019 where he didn't get the touchdowns, but he had over 1,000 receiving yards. And people thought, hey, 2020, maybe if he can combine everything together, then he can really take it to the next level. No, he finished as wide receiver 52. But then his best season was 2021. He had over 1,000 yards and he had 9 TDs, not 10. But in that season, in 2021, he had 8 weeks in that season that he did not finish as a top 30 wide receiver. He is a very, very Jekyll and Hyde wide receiver. And in 2022, you already saw he faltered even harder. Not to mention the fact that he's a Jekyll and Hyde wide receiver is the fact that he is very, very, very injury prone, okay? Look at the long list of injuries you're looking at from Mike Williams. We have a transverse process fracture. I don't even know what that is, but I know it's bad. High ankle sprain, hip flexor strain, back injury. They almost colored the whole entire body here. Hamstring, AC joint sprain, back spasms, knee sprain, knee strain, herniated discs, and calf strain. This is his entire career of injuries, and it's going to keep adding up, okay? He cannot take the wear and tear of a 17-week season. So, guys, the first must avoid this year, please save yourselves. Do not draft Mike Williams. Number 2 on our must avoid list is, yes, the guy on our thumbnail, Deebo Samuel. He finished as wide receiver 38 last year, and now he's going at ADP 40 overall. We're talking about you spending a 3rd or 4th round pick on someone that's not gonna reap what you sow into him. Deebo Samuel is in a very, very crowded offense, and there is no efficiency, no consistency with his stats. Let's go into his entire career. If you're looking at his numbers right now, starting off from 2019, none of these seasons, besides the season that he went off in 2021, was it a top 25 wide receiver, finishing in fantasy points per game. 2019, he had only 803 receiving yards. 2020, 309. That was an injury-prone season. And then 2021 was the big year, but majority of that was because he was the running back as well. Yes, he had over 1,400 yards receiving and 77 receptions, but he had 8 rushing TDs, nearly 600 yards rushing that season. So you're going to factor in this year the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey. That's why you saw a big downfall across his numbers. Not only the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey dumped his numbers, the fact that Brandon Ayuk emerged as the number 1 wide receiver in this offense. That's why you see only 56 receptions in 2022 and only around 632 receiving yards. 1 year is not like the other. 1 year is an anomaly, and he's going to revert back to what he usually does. So to me, Deebo Samuel is just a 700 to 600 yard receiving wide receiver, but his bread and butter is yards after the catch. Now let's look at his efficiency. This is what makes Deebo Samuel very special. Yards after the catch. He had 480 yards after the catch in 2022, number 8 in the league. That is awesome. But there's a huge but here. He has a low ADOT here at yards per target at 6.7, number 82 out of all receivers. That's horrible. And his efficiency, target separation, only 75th overall out of all wide receivers. All right. His dominator rating. This is the huge point. This is what I told you about. This is a very crowded offense in the San Francisco 49ers. This is a receiver's percentage of total receiving yards and team receiving touchdowns. Only 16%. That is number 57. All right. So he needs the ball in his hands. All right. That's the reason why Deebo went off in 2021 was because of all the injuries. They had to lean on him. So if there's no injuries, if there's not Christian McCaffrey out, Brandon Ayuk out, and then Deebo Samuel getting an opportunity to really shine, you're betting too much capital in your drafts on Deebo Samuel. He does not deserve to be an ADP 40 overall wide receiver. Not even wide receiver, ADP total. And he went as wide receiver 38 last year. That is a huge discrepancy. He needs to go later in drafts around that 5 and 6 round range. There are other guys that have huge upside this year. Keenan Allen goes around that range. Drake London, DJ Moore, all these other guys are clear-cut number 1s in their offense and not Deebo Samuel. Our next must avoid is running back Josh Jacobs, RB3 last year, current ADP in that second round. You're going to have to lock up Josh Jacobs. And everyone is just looking at the numbers from last year. Yes, he had an outstanding season. I get it. 2022, over 340 attempts, over 1,600 rush yards, 4.9 yards per carry. And the receiving was a bonus there. 53 receptions, 400 receiving yards, and 12 total touchdowns. Absolutely insane season. But the problem with that is all the work he had. Everyone's looking at the last season, bringing it over to this season and thinking that everything is a-okay. No, that is a huge negative. When you have a guy that goes well over 300 attempts, that is a problem, okay? Especially now in this day and age with the brittle running backs now, okay? There's a lot of issues there. If we're looking at the totality of history of guys that go over 300 carries, it always is a downfall to the person the next season. Even Derrick Henry, after his monstrous year of 378 attempts, he got injured in the first half of the season and was out for the rest of the year. Even Derrick Henry, all right? Now, if you're reading this, to no surprise, injuries are the number 1 reason why so many 300-plus carry running backs fail to sustain consistent production from 1 year to the next. Of the 60 running backs, they did a review of all 60 running backs that went over 300 carries here. Of the 60 running backs who experienced a decrease in the fantasy scoring following their 300-plus carry season, 63% played in fewer games the following year, with 35% missing 3 or more contests. Of the 44 running backs who saw their fantasy production drop by 50 or more fantasy points from their 300-plus carry season, 55% appeared in fewer games the next year, while 48% played in at least 3 less matchups. So there's going to be a huge downturn for Josh Jacobs this year. All right. It's just the nature of things. That is a lot of work to put on one player. And then the icing on the cake, the 100% guarantee reason why you do not draft Josh Jacobs this year is the contract issue. Now he's going to sit out of training camp. It is never good, never, ever, ever good for a player to sit out during training camp and try to ramp up a week or two, or in the season at week 1, trying to ramp up for regular season shape. He's always going to get injured. Same issue happened with Saquon Barkley. He came up late 2 years ago. He decided to sit out and wanted to wait. And then he was unproductive the whole entire year. Ankle issues. It's never good. Do not, 100%, do not draft Josh Jacobs this year. You're setting yourself up for failure, especially as long as this contract issue goes throughout the training camp. All right. Our next must avoid this one should be obvious as soon as you see his face. I know a lot of guys went on him last year. Oh, Kadarius Toney, so explosive. He has the opportunity to be the #1 wide receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my God. He was wide receiver 109 last year. Wide receiver 109 last year. What are you guys paying for this season? He's skyrocketed up draft boards now. Now there's talk of that he's the #1 wide receiver. Did you see him in the playoffs? Did you see his snap share? It was barely over 10%. Kadarius Toney is now at an ADP of 75.1. And let's look at his entire career. He can't stay healthy. In 2 seasons, this is his numbers. This is his production. 420 yards in 2021, 2022, 171. What are we banking on? You're paying right now at this price, at ADP 75, you're paying all upside. All upside and total risk with this selection of Kadarius Toney. You're hoping and praying that he stays healthy. You hoping and praying that they increase his usage, what they haven't given you any confidence in their whole entire season last year. And not to mention that he is injury prone. In only 2 seasons, he has 6 injuries already. Hamstring strain, shoulder strain, oblique strain, quadriceps contusion, and ankle sprain. That hamstring is not going to go away. It came up twice in the same season. You're putting a lot of risk on Kadarius Toney this year. You can take that risk. If you feel comfortable with the rest of your lineup and in round 7, 8, you want to take that shot, you better make sure you have bona fide guys around him. Okay. You can't be throwing, injury prone. You can't have Mike Williams and you can have Kadarius Toney. You can't have all those guys in one. You can't. You have to have someone that's consistent. You need a McLaurin. You need a Brandon Cooks. You need something, a Mark. You need someone along that line that's going to be consistent for you to even think about Kadarius Toney this year. That's why he's going to be a must avoid. He hasn't proved to be healthy, and I haven't seen confidence from the Kansas City Chiefs to actually upgrade his usage. We're going to see this year, but I'm going to be out on him this one. Those will be our top 4 must avoids so far in this season. We're going to see what happens during training camp. Things are going to change, and I'm going to be going through round by round. I'm going to give you a must avoid in round 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to round 10. We did it last year. It was successful. We're going to do it again. Get ready for that video coming a little bit later down the line. But guys, key in on these 4 guys. Do not take them this year. You'll be sorely misguided if you do. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a viewer and not currently a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. And if you're interested in MLB bets, fantasy football, best ball content, go to that Patreon link down below as well. Peace out.